Hi, everyone. Welcome to Women Are the Portal online global gathering, which is to bring together female leaders sharing their unique medicine for awakening and reclaiming ancient feminine wisdom for the healing of our precious Mother Earth and the soul of humanity. I'm your host for this event, Jill Allen, and today I'm excited to present Jocelyn Starfeather. Jocelyn Starfeather is a visibility and thought leader coach for visionary entrepreneurs, spiritual alchemist, astrologer, and founder of Sacred Planet. She shares shamanic and ancient wisdom to guide courageous seekers in co creating a revolutionary new world in alignment with Mother Earth and the vast intelligence of the cosmos. After a successful 15-year corporate career working in finance for major multinational companies, Jocelyn was thrust into a deep spiritual awakening. It was that awakening that turned her life upside down, and from which she emerged with a powerful understanding of how to use her intuition and healing abilities, aspects of herself that she'd never had access to before. She dove deeply into earth based and shamanic practices, and she has studied alongside elders and wisdom keepers ever since. She has extensively studied ancient civilizations, especially cultures where the goddess held a strong presence. And she has spent profound and life changing time in ancient temples and pyramids of Egypt, the sacred sites of Greece, and the lands of the ancient Mayans. Jocelyn blends alchemy, astrology, hermeticism, ancient and indigenous wisdom, and a magical shamanic perspective to coaching and guiding visionary entrepreneurs, revolutionaries, and change makers all around the world. You can learn more about Jocelyn's work on her website, www.wearesacredplanet.com, and on the Sacred Planet YouTube channel. Her topic today is the primordial power of the great goddesses of ancient Egypt. Welcome, Jocelyn. I am so excited to have you here and part of this gathering.
Thank you so much, Jill, for the lovely introduction. And thank you for creating this amazing event. Women are the portal. I love it so much. So thank you for all that you've done to bring this together.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Well, I'm really excited to learn more about your topic. And I know you have a presentation. And if you're ready, we can get started with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very excited to learn.
Yes, yes. And I just recently got back from Egypt,
Yes.
which is very exciting. So I am fresh with the energy from there. I was in Egypt most of the month of April 2025 and led a couple of different groups while I was there, and it was just so powerful. So I
Wow.
love talking about the goddesses of Egypt. It's my favorite topic probably in the whole world. So
Oh, great. I
this is
love it.
fun. Yeah. So let's begin in the heart with the great goddess Hathor. And you can see some images here. And I will just say at the beginning, I love to share slides and share it as a presentation whenever I'm speaking about Egypt because the images just convey so much more than the words even can, you know. So as you're watching this, everybody, and as you're listening to my words, also allow these images themselves to be a transmission to you. They are speaking to us on a deep, ancient, primordial level, because this is where we all come from on some level. So much of our subconscious and the symbols and the meaning behind them and our deep inner knowing of who we really are is deeply connected with Egypt. So let it speak to you on that level as well as my words. Um, so as you can see here on the slide, the goddess Hathor, she represents love, beauty, fertility, abundance, pleasure, and joy. And you can see actually, if we start with this image on the right here, we can see an image of her in her sacred cow form. And we see Hathor in many different forms. We see her as the cow, where her entire body is the cow. We also see her as a woman, We also see her as a woman with the cow head, and that's actually kind of what's being shown here on these great pillars in Dendera Temple is we see the Hathor face, which is mostly a human face, but with the beautiful, delicate cow ears. And so she's shown in these different forms, but in all of these forms, she represents these themes, which really focus around love at the very center of them. And she is the great mother. She is closely linked with two other mother goddesses, which are Isis and Nut. And I will share more about Isis a little later. But I'll share about Newt right now. And I think I actually have a slide that I can, yeah, this slide here. Particularly this one on the right. This is the great goddess Newt. And we need to keep in mind as we're thinking about any of these three goddesses, Hathor, Isis, and Newt, that if we go way, way back in the cosmologies of Egypt, they were originally one and the same, these three great goddesses. And they were this beautiful, great goddess who is the Milky Way. And she arches her entire body across the sky. So if you've ever been in a dark sky place, if you've ever looked up to the heavens at night and seen all the stars of the Milky Way arching over the sky, that is this great mother goddess. And so as the mythology went on and these goddesses became distinct, separate individuals of Hathor, Isis, and Nut. Nut is the one who maintains the Milky Way image. And so she's shown like this in the temples with her hands down on one side and her feet down on the other side and her body stretching across the top as the Milky Way. And it is said in the mythology that she eats the sun every night at dusk, at sunset, and the sun travels through her body all night, and that she gives birth to the sun at dawn, bringing back the life and the light to the land. So, this story is telling us about the great cycles of creation, the continual, the endless, infinite cycles of birth, life, death, and rebirth that we are intricately interwoven into. And we see this on cycles as small as even our breath, the in-breath and the out-breath, the in-breath and the out-breath. But then the day cycle, as we go from day to night and back to day, the seasons changing throughout the year, and the cycles of the sun through the year. And even as big as the cycles which are shown on the ceiling of Dendera, which is here on the left-hand side, the great 26,000 year cycles that tell about the great ages that we move through and the rise and fall of civilizations and the rise and fall of consciousness. All of these cycles are encapsulated in this image of Newt right here, right? So that's so powerful to consider. Now, coming back to my first slide, as the three goddesses became differentiated from one another, we see that Newt maintained that imagery of the Milky Way. And that Milky Way goddess was originally the sacred cow because she was the sacred cow in the sky whose milk rained down upon us every resource that we could possibly need to live and thrive on Earth. And this is not just the resources for the humans, but all the resources that the plants need, all the resources that the animals need. All of it is given to us by this great mother in the sky. So over time, as they become differentiated, Newt maintains that Milky Way image, and Hathor really carries the sacred cow image. So you can see here the inside of the Hippostyle Hall at Dendera Temple. This is the first hall that we enter. And this is the ceiling where all the mysteries of time and space are held. And here is a little section of this ceiling of Dendera Temple. This is a very powerful section of the ceiling because it shows Zep Tepi. It shows the beginning times. That's what Zep Tepi means, the first time. So what this is showing is actually after the last cataclysm, which, we see written in the texts of Egypt, we see written in the ancient Sumerian texts, written in the Bible, written in so many different ancient sources around the world, this story of the Great Flood, the flood that came and wiped out almost everything. But there were some survivors. And this is what we see in the Egyptian text as well. There were a few survivors, and they went forth and rebuilt the civilization. And so that moment of them rising back up out of the floodwaters and coming forth, again, being rebirthed once again, is speaking of these endless cycles of life, death, and rebirth. That is what is shown here, the time when everything begins again. And it's the beginning of the current cycle that we're in. It was approximately 12,000 years ago that Zep-Tepi occurred, that this is shown here on the ceiling. So we see, first of all, and it's a little bit out of the picture, but the body of Newt is here. You can see her watery waveform body. She's the Milky Way. She's stretching across all of this. Here is the sun being born from her womb, and Hathor, the great mother goddess, is coming forth from the womb of Newt and being born. Creation is starting again. And the very first thing that we see here as we move into who are the figures shown is this serpent. Its name is Neheb Cow, and it is rising out of the primordial waters of the flood on the lotus flower bark. So these are all barks, they're boats. This is the lotus flower bark. So this is the Kundalini energy, the life force energy, rising up once again after all has been destroyed. But life never ends. Life can never be destroyed. So this is the life rising up again and giving birth to the other beings who will come forth, which these are gods and goddesses here. We see the god Thoth here, for example. In the top row, we see the constellation, or sorry, the star Sirius here. And this is Hathor, and it is Isis, because they are both connected to the star Sirius. But in this particular description, it's saying this is the star Sirius. And it is saying that this is Orion, the constellation Orion, who is also Osiris. And they are setting out on their journey. They are the great god and the great goddess. They are moving forward to begin again. So this is just a little bit of what's written on Dendera temple ceiling. The greatest mysteries of the universe are encoded there because this great goddess is the mother of all things. She is the womb that births all of us. And so she holds these secrets in her womb. We see in very frequently in the imagery in the hieroglyphs, the 7 Hathors. So on the left, this is in Nefertari's tomb. So now this is a bull right here, the bottom left, this is a bull, but the other 7 are cows. Now every one of them has their name, and they are the 7 Hathors. On the right here, this is from Edfu Temple. We have the leader, Hathor herself, and plus her 6 additional Hathors. So we have the 7 Hathors here as well. Now, there's a lot that we could say about the 7 Hathors. This is our connection with the stars. This is our connection with the 7 sages that bring knowledge, that bring wisdom, the ancient feminine wisdom. Perhaps the 7 sages were actually women. And this is again speaking to the great knowledge that Hathor holds in her womb, the knowledge of all the cosmos, everything that surrounds the earth out in the galaxy and the universe. Hathor holds that kind of knowledge and wisdom. This is a really beautiful image here with Hathor in her sacred cow form with the sun disk on her head. And this is the pharaoh. Now, in this case, it's actually Hatshepsut, who is a female pharaoh. There are many images like this of different pharaohs suckling from the breast of Hathor. And this is really important because it's showing that the pharaoh recognizes that they get their power from the Great Mother. Okay, that the Great Mother rules over all of creation, that the Great Mother is the one who gives us life, and we must respect her, and we must know that everything we have comes from her. This image is actually a little bit covered up here. Let me just fix this really quick. Sorry, I'll go back to the share. Hi, everybody.
That was great.
Let me just fix this. It was supposed to be like that. There we go. Um, this is an image of Hathor here. And this is in the Hathor temple at Abu Simbel. And this is Queen Nefertari making offerings to Hathor. This is one of the places that we see Hathor completely in human form. And then this is in that same temple, the Hathor temple in Abu Simbel is so beautiful. This is a beautiful depiction of Hathor with the human face, the beautiful cow ears, and then the omega hair. Okay, and she is the Alpha and the Omega. She is the beginning and the end. She is the womb that births all things. So that is the great goddess Hathor. So hopefully that gives you a good sense for who she is. Now here is the goddess Ma'at. Ma'at is very much like the zodiac sign of Libra, if you may want to relate to her in that way, if you are an astrological person. She represents balance and harmony. She holds very much that same energy of the scales, that we want to reach the calm point in the center. We want to be able to balance the polarities and hold the calm center. This is what Ma'at helps us to do. And she helps us to come into truth. Truth, integrity, justice are all a really important part of what she stands for. So she is the one who ensures that the universe and all of creation stays stable, harmonic, in balance, so that it does not descend into chaos. So she holds the principles of balance, harmony, truth, justice, and integrity. And one way to kind of sum up all that she stands for is she is natural order and cosmic law. And this is something that I think we have, at least our governments and our leaders in the modern westernized world today, have really forgotten about, to pay attention to maintaining natural order and cosmic law, because we make our human laws, but there are much greater laws than these. There are the laws of the earth, the laws of the universe that are always going to be taking care of things, that are always going to be ensuring that we stay in balance in one way or another. And so what I find really beautiful in ancient Egypt that we see is when the pharaoh would begin their time as the ruler of the kingdom, they would say the oath of Ma'at. And they were really taught about this from the time they were children. The ancient Egyptian children were raised with these principles of Ma'at, that they knew this was the most important thing, to uphold these principles throughout their lives and always be in truth, in balance, and in integrity. So even more important then for the pharaoh to uphold those principles. Now this is an image from Abydos temple of King Seti I, and he is here. He is standing, and he's actually, it's out of the picture, but he's actually presenting this to Isis and Osiris, the great god and the great goddess. He's holding this tiny little statue of Ma'at, and he is saying the oath of Ma'at. So with this oath, he is saying, thank you, great God and great goddess, for handing me this beautiful, perfect kingdom in complete harmony and balance. I vow with all of my life to uphold Ma'at, to uphold natural order and cosmic law in everything that I do, as I am the pharaoh, for as long as I shall live. And at the end of my rulership, I will give it back to you in the same perfect balance as I am receiving it now. So can you imagine if our leaders today said the oath of Ma'at? What a different world it would be, right?
Yeah.
This is something that's so important for us to remember. And we're remembering this, we're coming back into a connection with, we must be in right relationship with the earth. We must be in right relationship with the principles of integrity and honesty. Um, so we're learning this as humans. We are coming back to this. So as it says here, everything that the ancient Egyptians did was designed to activate and uphold the highest levels of harmony, balance, and truth in their world. I like to say that the ancient Egyptians never did anything halfway. Their architecture was at the highest level, to the point we cannot, even today, we cannot understand how they did it. We can't understand how they built the pyramids. We can't understand how they made these huge obelisks and massive pillars out of one piece of stone and moved them hundreds of miles in stones that are very hard and very difficult to carve and work with. How did they make their statues that had perfect symmetry, the statues of the pharaoh, perfect symmetry from one side of the face to the other? Even the most skilled sculptor cannot do that today. Um, so there's so much here that they put the highest levels of devotion and sophistication into. So they were building everything and they were living their lives and they were holding their rituals and ceremonies in a way that was designed to uphold Ma'at. And so we can learn a lot from this, just by seeing these images. And if you go to Egypt, by walking through the temples, we soak this in. We receive this. We receive that kind of balance and harmony, devotion and dedication to the truth. And so it helps us to bring that into our lives more and more. All right, here's another wonderful goddess, and her name is Seshet, or you might see it written as Seshat sometimes. So, and in the hieroglyphic writing, for the most part, they did not have vowels. It's kind of like in the ancient Hebrew writing, there were no vowels. The vowels are considered sacred, so they would only write the consonants. So when you see vowels in the names of these goddesses, we're guessing what that vowel was. Okay. Like with Seshet, we have the SST, but we don't know for sure exactly how they pronounced it. So in any case, we call her Seshet or Seshat today. Now, she is the goddess of writing, the Akashic records, and she is very connected to the stars. She is the one who knows how to align each temple with the proper stars and constellations above, and with the ley lines and the underground water currents below, in order for that temple to pull down from the great above and pull up from the great below the perfect energies needed for the rituals and ceremonies that will be held in that place. So you can see how this is an extension of that concept of Ma'at. This is about balancing the energies of the cosmos with the energies of the earth. And they were very carefully pulling those energies from the great above and great below into the temples, so that when we walk through the temples, even today, we can feel how strong the energy is inside of there. Now, Sachet was really important in the construction of the temples. And in every single temple, you will see an image of her in a scene, something like this, where she is performing the stretching of the cord ceremony. So here she is. She has the seven-pointed star and the upside down Taurus horns or Hathor horns above her head, which may indicate her connection with the Pleiades. She's very connected with the stars because there are 7 petals on that flower or 7 points on that star. And because the Pleiades constellation is in Taurus, which is the bull or the cow constellation, it's very likely that this is referring to the Pleiades and her connection to the Pleiades. Interestingly, many, many, many cultures around the world say that humans originated from the Pleiades. So in any case, we have Seshet here, and here is the pharaoh. This was one of the Ptolemaic pharaohs for this construction of Edfu temple that's being shown here. Whenever a new temple would be built, they would call upon Seshet. The pharaoh would call upon her, And she would come in and they would do this work with these cords that you see here to lay the foundation of the temple in perfect alignment with very particular stars and constellations that would be different for each temple. So as it says here in this quote from Normandy Ellis, when a new temple was laid, Sechet consulted the stars, the oracles, and the previous plans. Securing the stakes, Sechet and the pharaoh lay the groundwork for the entire temple, aligning each sanctuary to the star whose light embodied the divine being to whom the temple was dedicated, and in order to keep the Holy of Holies sanctuary aligned with its determined star. So this is really beautiful. And this goddess is so important to keeping those energies aligned. Now, an interesting thing is the ancient Egyptians would tear down their temples and build a new one approximately every 2,000 years. This is because they were aware of the precession of the equinoxes, the great 26,000 year cycles. And every 2,000 years or so, all of the fixed stars in the sky move about 30 degrees. So by the time 2,000 years have passed, the stars that each temple is aligned to have moved so significantly that it's not really aligned to them anymore. And so they would tear down that temple, which is quite a significant task, because these temples were built with such massive blocks of stone. And they would build a new one in its place that was aligned to the new position of the stars. And what's so interesting about that is they would carry forward the information from the previous temple and encode it in the new one. So even though when we go to Egypt, we're walking through temples that were built, many of them during Ptolemaic times, which is around 300 BC, 200 BC, fairly recent, okay, only 2,000 years old. That temple, all of those temples hold the knowledge of the temple that was on that exact same place before that one, and the temple that was on the exact same place before that one, and so on. So like Dendera Temple, for example, probably goes back 8,000 years as far as the knowledge that it holds. So here's another image of Sechet, and you can see, and this happens sometimes with the hieroglyphs, sometimes the images are a bit destroyed, unfortunately. But we have most of her here. So she is also a high priestess. And we know this because she wears the leopard skin robe. So in this image from Abydos, we have Sechet here, and we have the high priest right here. They are both wearing the leopard skin robe. Now we know this because you can see the leopard, the bottom paws of the leopard near the bottom of their dress. You can even see the tail of the leopard coming down here. And the upper paws or the front paws of the leopard are here on their shoulders. Now this leopard skin robe was only worn by those who had undergone the resurrection ceremony, the most profound initiation in the Osirian mysteries. It means that you have passed through the gates of death and returned. So she is a holder of the mysteries. She is connected to the stars. She is pivotal to the pharaohs in every new temple that they create. So she is very important and powerful. Okay, so let's talk about Sekhmet. Many of you out there, I'm sure, probably have a relationship with Sekhmet. She really reaches out to us. She really wants to be with us and be helping us and guiding us at this really important time on our planet. So we can say thank you, Sekhmet, for bringing your fierce love to us. So Sekhmet also is a mother goddess. She is a very fierce and primordial mother, and she's just so ancient. She really embodies the original, far ancient, I would say Neolithic or even Paleolithic understanding of the mother, which is that the mother is equal parts creation and destruction. She is not only the one who births us from her womb, but she is also the one, like the great vulture goddess, which actually Sekhmet is very connected to, the goddess Mut, who folds us back into her womb at the end of our life so that we can be planted like a seed and be reborn once again from the fabric of creation. So this was the original, the most ancient understanding of the mother. And that is what Sekhmet represents. So she was seen in ancient Egypt to rule not only healing and love and strength, but also war and pestilence. And so they would call on her when they needed help to win a war, when they needed help to cure diseases that were spreading. She held both sides of that polarity, both peace and war, both pestilence and healing. She's very connected with strength, courage, and anger, but anger as a portal to truth, right? When we feel angry about something in our lives, it's important to know that our emotions are telling us something really important. When we feel angry, our emotions are telling us something is not right here, the situation is not okay, and we need to do something about it. So she really stands strong for us, and she's an amazing one to turn to if we're feeling anger, if we're not being treated well, if something needs to change in our lives. She is here to help us with that. And she represents this fierce love, like the love of the mama bear for her babies, the love of Mother Earth for us as well, that fierce kind of love. So we see her in two different forms. One is as the standing Sekhmet, and this is her fierce warrior lioness form. And we also see her as Mut. When we see her as Mut, she is seated. And actually, this statue, you can't see her bottom half, but she's seated. And she's very tall and she's very strong. She is sitting on her throne. And when we see her in that form, she is the infinitely potent feminine, seated in her power. And she is so powerful that she does not even need to stand or even lift a finger, and her will be done. That's how strong she is. So I said a little bit about that great mother in the early goddess cultures. We have this is actually a hieroglyphic Kamumbo temple, which has a lot of Sekhmet energy there of a woman giving birth, right? So this is all connected. The vulture goddess is also named Mut. So we have this connection between birth and death, that endless, infinite cycle of birth, life, death, and rebirth, because death is never an ending, and the ancient Egyptians knew that really, really well. And Sekhmet carries the energy of both sides of that polarity. These are some images of Sekhmet from Kamumbo Temple, which was a healing temple. It was almost like a hospital back in those times. We even see a panel of hieroglyphs with the surgical instruments listed out. And many of the doctors were trained as priests or priestesses of Sekhmet, those who carried the medical healing energy were devoted to this great goddess. This is a beautiful image of Sekhmet at Philae Temple. I just really love this one. You can see the sun disk and then the uraeus. This is the exploding crown chakra. Okay, this is the Kundalini energy that has risen up through the body and all the way out of the top of the crown chakra, representing someone that is at their highest level of mastery. Here's something really cool about Sekhmet. So we have found approximately 600 statues of the seated Sekhmet, which is Mut. You can see some of them here. This is in the precinct of Mut in Egypt. This is near Karnak Temple. And what we believe is that there were probably originally 730 of these because Pharaoh Amenhotep III wanted to do a ceremony every day of the year, one ceremony in the morning and one ceremony in the evening, in honor of Sekhmet. And so to do that, he needed a different statue for each ceremony throughout the year. So he needed 730. So that's 365 times 2. So what's amazing about this is since about 600 of them have been found, and they have been distributed out around the world. Almost any museum that you go to in any major city that has an Egyptian section will have one of these statues. And I just find that so moving. And I find that to be really this incredible proof that she's working with us. She wants to be with us at this time. And I invite you, everybody watching, go to a local museum near you that has an Egyptian department, and you will probably find her there. And you can gaze into her eyes, you can speak to her, you can see what she might want to say to you. She is so powerful, and she is so present with us. And she is truly the great mother. So here's a statue of Sekhmet at Karnak Temple. This is in her chapel, in the Sekhmet chapel. And it's actually the chapel of Sekhmet and Ptah, because Ptah is her consort. This statue is still living. And if you don't believe me, go there and you'll feel it and you'll know. You can probably even tell from this image. The local guards will confirm this. And this is a statue that has never been moved from its original location. That's part of the reason that it holds so much power. So when we go to Egypt and we go to Karnak Temple, each person in the group gets a chance to stand in front of her for a couple of minutes and gaze into her eyes and receive her message. And she speaks so strongly to everybody. She is truly alive. It's really powerful. And I'll just say this fairly briefly, but it's important to know. You know, Sekhmet carries the energy of some other great goddesses from other cultures, like Pele, the goddess of the volcanoes from the Hawaiian culture, and Kali, the great creatress, destructress of the yogic tradition. And so these goddesses ask us, is there something that you need to let go? Is there something that you need to destroy in your own life so that you can be birthed into who you are meant to be? Right? And they really ask us to examine that. And then they stand by our side and they help us to find the strength to make those changes or to do or to have those difficult conversations or whatever is needed. They really take a stand for us. So it's important to know, and it's important to call on one of these great goddesses like Sekhmet when we need that kind of support. This is a message I got from Sekhmet one time through a very magical occurrence. And she said, things are only impossible until they are not. So I have carried that with me and I pass it along to all of you. Know that this is absolute truth because really nothing is impossible. And it's all about our perception. And if we work at it and wait long enough, we will find everything becomes possible. So I will share with you about one more great goddess here today. And this is the great goddess Isis, or Iset, as her name is written in the hieroglyphs. Isis is the Greek version of her name. So, I mean, they're all mothers, as you've heard me say. But Isis is really considered in some ways because she is the mother of Horus. She is really the great, great, great mother. And she is the queen of magic and mystery and sacred sexuality, and she is the queen of heaven and earth. So here we see her in Abydos Temple. This is such a beautiful image of her. She's holding the sistrum. Now remember, she is one of the three that were the same originally, Isis, Hathor, and Nut. So we're coming full circle here. So she's holding this sistrum that has the beautiful face of Hathor on it. The sistrum was a musical instrument that they would shake, and it was said to make the sound of the sparkling of the stars. So here we see Isis with her sun disk and the Hathor horns on her head, and she has this beautiful crown of serpents. It's like the Uraeus crown, and she has the Uraeus coming out of her third eye. She is here holding that powerful Kundalini energy. This is actually a larger part of that same image. You can see here she's standing next to the high priest wearing his leopard skin robe right there. The other two images are from Nefertari's tomb. This one on the left is Isis holding Nefertari's hand. This is Queen Nefertari. She was the favorite wife of King Ramses II. And this is in her tomb, in Nefertari's tomb. So this is Isis leading Nefertari in over to the other side of the veil and supporting and assisting her in that journey. And then here we have, it's a little bit dark in the image here, sorry about that, but we have an image of Isis on the right, and we know it's her because her symbols are the throne and the egg. So she has that over her head. And then we have Nefertari here. I'm sorry, not Nefertari. This is Isis's sister. Her name is escaping me. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. It's the sister of Isis. It's so funny because Isis represents the light and her sister represents the darkness and is very hidden. We very rarely see her in the hieroglyphs. And it's so interesting that I'm not even like her name is not coming to me now. Anyway, this is the sister of Isis.
Mhm.
And they are both holding space for this beautiful Ra. This is the sun god Ra here in one of his powerful forms. I'll tell you her name when it comes to me later, but it's so funny with the archetypes that she's staying hidden. So Isis is an amazing goddess for us to turn to because she really understands the trials and challenges of life and especially of being a woman and a mother. The story with Isis, which I won't go into great detail about it, but I'll just say briefly that, if you've heard the story of Isis and Osiris, essentially Isis and Osiris are married, they are in love, they are bringing all the gifts to the people together, and then their evil brother Set tricks Osiris and kills him and tears his body into 14 or 42 pieces, depending on the story. And Isis has to search the land and put her husband back together. She eventually finds the pieces using the magic of Thoth. She puts her husband back together and resurrects him enough so that they can conceive their son Horus. So Isis and Osiris conceive Horus, and then Osiris is not resurrected back to his original state. He is resurrected in the way that he now needs to become who he's meant to be, which is the Lord of the Duat. And the Duat, or the underworld, is actually in the sky for the ancient Egyptians. So he rises up into the sky. He takes on his greatest role. And Isis then is left in the world, on the earth, pregnant, and having to take on her greatest role, which is the great mother of mystery and magic. But at the same time, she must give birth to her son. And she must do this in hiding because Set is still looking for her and wants to destroy her son, who would be the offspring of Osiris. And she must give birth to her son and raise him all while she and Horus are in hiding so that Horus can be allowed to grow up safely and become the king that he's meant to be. And she does this. But she really understands being a single mom. And she really understands what it is to be a magical shamanic being like we are, all of us here listening today, but having to attend to the 3D realities of taking care of our kids and finding food and doing all the things that are necessary to survive and to keep your family in good shape. So I just have chills whenever I talk about this. She's such a powerful mother and goddess and priestess for us to turn to when we need help with that. I feel like so many of us, I'm sure all of you listening, have had this experience of living in two different worlds because we know that these shamanic possibilities are here for us. We venture into the other realms, but you've still got to come back and put food on the table. You still got to come back and do the laundry, and that's really hard sometimes. So Isis understands that, and she can help us find this balance between living shamanically and magically while still doing the things that are necessary for mundane life. So she is really helpful to us in that way. So I'll just end this presentation then if we can go to any questions you might have, Jill. I'll just end this presentation with the alchemical prayer because this is so powerful and this is one of the things that was given to me by my guides as I worked more and more with Egypt. Because, Egypt really opens us up to much greater possibilities. There's so much that we see there that we can't explain from logic and reason and what we know of physics and gravity today, how they built these incredible structures, how they had this amazingly successful civilization for thousands and thousands of years. We don't know how they did it. So it really opens us up to much greater possibilities that are available to us. So I offer everyone this prayer. It's a very powerful prayer. If you start saying this 3 times a day, the most wonderful, magical things will begin happening in your life, I promise. um, so this prayer is, Dear universe, please send me all of the things that I need and most deeply desire that I do not even yet know are possible. So I invite you, if that's moving to you, say it 3 times a day, every day, and see what happens. It will be amazing. And I'll just put my free gift up on the screen here in case that's helpful, and then I will leave the slides. My free gift to you all is a really beautiful video workshop that I created that's called Awaken Your Connection with Ancient Egypt, Find Your Power in the Magic of Long Ago. And I'm sure Jill will tell you where to find that link.
Mhm. Yes.
All right.
Wow, that was so beautiful, so powerful. Thank you so, so much. I learned so much, so I'm gonna have to definitely go back and listen to that several times. I've, know a little bit about the goddesses and, explored them a bit. That just took it to a whole deeper, more, especially the images, and much more expansive. I definitely relate to Sekhmet. I feel her, and then also Isis. But I did not know about is it Sachet?
Mhm.
Research her. I've never heard of her. And
Yeah.
I definitely felt connection to that as well. And so I'm curious, did you see a many of or all of these when you were in Egypt and taking your tour? Yeah.
Well, these pictures in this presentation are from a number of different years of going. I've been there 6 times
Okay.
now. So those
Wow.
are kind of from my whole collection. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, these are the places, the images I've shown you are the places that we normally go to. There's like
Hmm.
certain stops that you just can't miss. You can't miss Dendera Temple, you can't miss Abydos Temple, and so on. And some of them, like I showed some images from Abu Simbel, which is an extra trip because it's way further south. It's actually almost to Sudan. So not everybody goes there, but we always offer an option that if you want to get up at 4 in the morning on this day, we can go to Abu Simbel. And I always go. It's so beautiful there. It's always worth it. So yeah,
Yeah. And I bet it's such a felt experience.
yeah, it
Right.
really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did not know with Sekhmet because when I started, I guess on this path, it's been like right 20 years ago. Maybe it was like, and I was first started teaching yoga and getting into yoga. Um, the first goddess I was ever introduced to was Pele.
Mm, amazing.
Yeah. So, and it really aligned at that time of,
Yeah.
yeah, it really aligned at that time.
That's a powerful one to come to you for that.
Yeah, I was like, wow, okay. My first introduction to goddesses, and it was Pele. I was like, oh, yeah. And it
Yeah.
was, yeah, definitely aligned. So how, are there any suggestions? I loved how you weaved in the goddesses and how they can support. us in just in our everyday lives. For example, Isis, I definitely can relate to living shamanically, and then, we have to tend to the mundane and how to, bridge those. Yeah,
Not easy. It's really not easy.
right. But are there ways, or any suggestions in how we can further deepen our relationship with these goddesses?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's so important for each person individually to see which goddess wants to work with you,
Mhm.
so just from the few that I shared with you today, or maybe if you want to do a little more research into the wider pantheon from Egypt or from other cultures, really see what speaks to you because there are so many different goddesses from all around the world that hold this incredibly deep encoded wisdom. So, um, not to make it too overwhelming to say all the cultures, but even if you want to just focus on the ones I shared here today and see which one of those goddesses is speaking to you the most, or maybe there's two of them that are.
Right.
And, you know, invite them into your meditations. Um, Maybe look for if you can find a little statue of one of them to bring into your home or put on your altar space. Read about them, research them, but more than anything, connect with them on the energetic level because then you'll find out what their unique and specific messages that you need to hear right now and the way
Mhm.
they want to support you and the way they want to work with you. Um, I mean, there are lots of books out there on these great goddesses and the culture of ancient Egypt. I would highly recommend anything from Normandy Ellis. Um, that's a great place to start, honestly, with books from Normandy Ellis. She has a beautiful way of expressing what the goddesses are about in the Egyptian mythology. But also follow your intuition about that. There's lots of books about Egypt,
Yeah,
depending on which level you want to go in
right,
on.
right. Yeah.
Yes. But trust your intuition, see what speaks to you, and there will be great treasures for you to find.
Yeah, maybe even do a shamanic journey with one, or yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely, probably different ways to work with them. And I definitely feel the goddess is rising. The goddesses are really getting our attention, and I so appreciate your work and bringing them to light and into women's lives and men as well. And I hope to be able to join one of your sacred tours one of these days. I think that would be absolutely so powerful to feel that, um, and be in that presence.
Yes, I would love to have you join me, of
It'd
course.
be
I have
beautiful.
the next Egypt tour is going to be October 2025 if anybody's looking for one.
Okay. Yes,
Will
so that may be a great segue into how, well, we mentioned your website, which is just, I mean, so beautiful, and lots of great courses and information. And that's wearesacredplanet.com.
Mhm.
Wearesacredplanet.com. And we'll have that link as well as her free gift. And are there other ways, anything upcoming for you, or other ways to work with you?
Yeah, I would say go to my website. As Jill said, wearesacredplanet.com. Explore, see what, same thing, follow your intuition, follow your heart, see what stands out to you. I do have that next Egypt tour coming up that will be in late October to early November 2025. And I am co-guiding that one with Stephen Mailer and Patricia Ayan Lehman, who are two amazing wisdom keepers carrying the lineage of Hakim Abdel Ayan. So we're
Oh,
doing this tour to really focus on showing the secrets and the hidden mysteries of Egypt that are off the beaten path and not something you would see on all the tours, which is really special and unique. It's going to be a very, very wonderful, special tour. So if that's calling to you, you can check it out on my website and you'll find ways to register and get more info. Um, and yeah, on my site too, if you go to online courses, I have a wide library now that I've been creating over the years of different online courses, and many of them are donation based. So check it out, see if some of them
Wonderful.
speak to you. There are some really beautiful courses that I just have put my heart and soul into over the year, and I want to over the years, and I want to share those widely so um, they can touch as many lives as possible with the wisdom that's there. So yeah, check it out. Enjoy. Also check out my YouTube channel. It's the Sacred Planet YouTube channel. I'm always putting new videos out, new exciting things,
Yeah.
astrology updates, different teachers and speakers that I interview and put up there. So enjoy what you find there as well.
Oh, yes, yes. So wonderful. Yeah. Our courses, I've taken a few and they're amazing, wonderful. And there's just a lot, um, rich content and the donation base, which is beautiful. And yes, her YouTube channel is beautiful. I love it. And she has great speakers and interviews and even just sharing her different wisdom as well. So
Oh,
thank
thank
you,
you, Jill.
Jocelyn, for being here. So appreciate it. I know you're very busy and like yeah, you just got back from your trip and I think you just had a wonderful summit. You had a wonderful summit
Yeah,
yourself.
just last week.
Yes, yeah. So I appreciate you and thank you so much and everything that you're bringing to yeah, reclaiming and rebirthing this wisdom of the
Thank you
feminine.
so much, Jill. It's an honor to be here and be part of your event, and so much love to everybody out there.
Yeah, so much love. Thank you, everyone. And until we meet again, so much love. Bye for now.